How I Became a Ghost, Chapter 22, Buried with the Bones. "We've been waiting for you," said the woman. "Take off your shoes before you climb in the wagon. We keep everything neat and clean." Naomi leaned against the wheel and slipped off her boots. "Here," said the woman. "Hand them to me. I'll hide them for you." She helped Naomi into the wagon and closed the flap. Once inside, Naomi was struck by the smell of dried rose petals. She said. "It smells nice in here." The women were silent, but Naomi thought she heard some soft laughter. "We are so used to the smells, we barely notice," said the woman, "but we try to keep everything nice for the others." "What others?" Naomi asked. More soft laughter floated from the rear of the wagon. "Everybody else," said the woman. "Most people don't like to be around us." "Why not?" The words had barely passed through Naomi's lips when she wished she had never uttered them. In a sudden flash, like a thunderbolt that shook her very being, Naomi realized where she was. "I'm in the wagon of the bone pickers," she whispered. Few Choctaws have ever seen the bone pickers, but everyone knew of them. Before the soldiers came, they lived in the thickest of the trees, deep in the piney woods. They never left their tiny log house. A small pond lay close to their back door, gushing warm water from far underground. A young man brought them food and supplies, so they never had to leave home. Their job was the hardest and most sacred of all in Choctaw country. When a Choctaw died, the body was brought to the bone pickers. They carried the body to the wooden platform close to the spring where the animals came to drink. After days, sometimes weeks, when the wolves and buzzards had eaten the flesh from the bone pickers began their real task. They carried the body inside and picked the bones clean. They washed and scrubbed the bones until they were shiny and white. With a thin rope made from clothing, they tied the bones into a bundle. This bundle was now ready for burial. This was the Choctaw way. And now, with Choctaws forced to walk, the bone pickers had to leave their home too. They were too old to walk. Urged by the Choctaw Council, the soldiers gave them a wagon. This was the wagon Naomi had climbed into, a wagon sweetened by the smell of dried roses. "Don't worry, dear child," the woman said. "Don't be afraid of us. This is the safest place for you now. If the soldiers search the wagon, we have a place for you." Naomi's eyes adjusted to the darkness. She saw the three older women curled together at the rear of the wagon. They surrounded a large wooden trunk. "Here," said the woman, and lifted the lid. "You will be safe in the trunk." Naomi took a deep breath and froze. The trunk was filled with bones. "Don't be afraid," said the woman. "You do not have to touch the bones. The men built a secret hiding place for you." The women piled the bones into the two large sacks while Naomi watched. They lifted the floor of the trunk. "It has a secret bottom, a tiny place for you to lie and wait until the soldiers go away. Here, climb inside." Naomi crawled into the trunk and lay on her back and closed her eyes. "Take this," said the woman, handing Naomi a blanket. "This will keep you warm." The woman settled the wooden plank on top of her and emptied the bags of bones into the trunk. Naomi heard the bones scatter and roll, only a few inches above her head. The air was stuffy, but she could breathe. She curled it under the blanket and waited. "I hope I don't have to stay in here long," she thought. "I know what you're thinking," said the woman, and the bone pickers laughed. "We'll do our best to see that your stay is short." "Oh, don't say that," said the older woman in a cracked, tiny voice. "She seems so nice. Maybe she can stay and help us." Naomi felt the wagon move. The bones creaked and rattled above her. She listened while the woman spoke to Luke. "Have your panther friend bring us a small animal from the woods, a possum or a raccoon," she said. "Tell him right away," I'll tell him right away," Luke said. "Tell him to gnaw the animal and make it good and bloody," the woman shouted. "The more blood, the better."